You know them, you love them. Give it up for Mel and Steve!
All dairy cows are slaughtered.
Tag you're in.
From the mountain, from the cold earth. They try to say I wasn't, but listen close. This is the sound. They spoke from the outside, looking in through the gate. Said I don't carry the blood, said I don't carry the fate, but I rose from the barrel where the old ones sleep. Iron in my skeleton, promises I keep. I'm Viking born, drug a soul, walking between worlds, carving my truth into stone, breaking all your rules. Frost on my breath in the winter in my eyes. When I open my mouth, yeah, the whole sky cries. I don't walk the path where the living stay soft. I'm the storm that arrives when you think you're far off. And when the horn sounds, you don't hear just me. It's the echo of kin, it's the whole family. Shoulder to shoulder, shield wall tight. We don't run from the battle, we bring the fight. You thought it was one man, nah. Look at the line, every time I call, they arrive right on time. I am the droga, I am Viking true. When I lift my voice, my people come through. From the mountain to the street, from the sea to the shore. We stand as one, we are stronger than war. You cannot control us, you cannot divide. We stand with the power, we stand with pride. My call is the baseline, my call is the law. When I roar in the track, you will know who we are. Hey, I am the droga. I am the droga. I am the droga. I am Viking true. When I lift my voice, my people come through.
It took one video by Joey Carbstrong and one cow we saw inside a slaughterhouse to change everything. On our wedding day, Steve and I never imagined we'll be doing what we do today. We were not talking about activism. We were talking about buying our first home and where we'd go on holiday. And now, all we talk about is strategy and planning. But if I'm honest, my story with animals began when I was a child with my dog, Lucky. Growing up, Lucky was my best friend. And when I looked at him, I didn't see a different species. I saw someone. He was just like me, but just looked different on the outside. Just like we all look different on the outside. Nobody had to teach me that animals are individuals. I already knew. Every child knows. Children don't meet an animal and think commodity. They think friend. But somewhere along the way, we're conditioned to disconnect from the animals themselves. We don't stop caring, but we stop questioning. And I think that's one of the greatest tragedies of all. Because I've always loved animals. And as a little girl, I wanted to be as close to them as I possibly could be. If there was an opportunity to meet an animal, I wanted to do it. I went to zoos, I stroked tigers, I swam with dolphins, and I cuddled lion cubs. I thought I was showing animals love. I had no idea I was paying for their exploitation. Because the industries didn't destroy my compassion, they used it. They used my love for animals against the very animals I loved. They turned my compassion into profit, the cruelest kind of deception. Now, when I look back to watching Joey's video, there's one thing I remember more than anything else. The cow inside the slaughterhouse. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was angry. Angry that I had been manipulated into paying for something I would have fought against with every part of my being. But alongside that heartbreak I experienced something. Something I had never felt before. A feeling that still runs through my body today. The most powerful feeling that I have ever felt. Passion. A passion to end the exploitation of animals. It's not just an emotion, it's a calling, a knowing that I had to play my part in ending this. Not just to do something, but to do everything I possibly could. Because we have the freedom to fight, and with that freedom becomes a responsibility. But knowing we had this responsibility didn't change the fact that I'm naturally a really shy person, and the thought of doing activism terrified me. Standing in front of strangers, having difficult conversations, and putting myself out there is everything I would have normally avoided. But when your focus is truly on the animals, and when you see that they need someone to stand up for them, you realize you are capable of things you never thought possible. Because it's not about you anymore, it's about them. So we started doing more and more activism, and over time, I remember saying to Steve, even though I was really, really scared to tell him, I said, we need to buy a camera. We need to do more. We need to create social media and have a YouTube channel. Because if one video from Joey could reach us and completely change the direction of our lives, then maybe we could do the same for someone else. So we did. I learned how to edit. Steve learned how to make thumbnails. We started filming our conversations and sharing them online, hoping that one day, one video might reach someone else. We always gave ourselves no option other than to fight. But if we're honest, there was one thing that we were terrified of doing: going to a slaughterhouse. We couldn't understand why someone would choose to put themselves somewhere that would break their heart. Because every piece of footage we saw, every animal we witnessed suffering, physically hurt as though their pain was mine. We thought going to a slaughterhouse would break us beyond a point that we couldn't recover from. But then I saw a video from Joey where he said, when you go to a slaughterhouse, you become the most powerful activist that you can be. So we went. And I witnessed a trailer carrying 2 terrified cows as I looked into their eyes as they disappeared behind the slaughterhouse gate. I cried tears of complete heartbreak. I thought that day would destroy me, but it didn't. It transformed me. Because in that moment, I discovered a strength inside myself that I didn't even know existed. A strength that didn't come from me. It came from them. The animals gave me the courage to fight for them. And that is why I encourage anyone who is afraid to go, see for yourself, because you'll find a strength you didn't even know you had. And the animals need you to find that.
Those that have the privilege to know have the duty to act. Every justice movement needed people who did more than quietly agree. Those 2 statements have been at the heart of everything that we have done and everything that we continue to do today. Action. That's what the animals need. Without action, nothing changes. It's a determination to create change that has taken us from the very first street outreach we ever done to everything that we continue to do today. Unlike Mel, I've always been quite a confident person. I'm usually loud enough, and speaking in public has never really worried me. But still, becoming an activist pushed me far beyond my comfort zones too. And like Mel, I learned to grow because I stopped putting myself at the center of that equation. Every time that I felt uncomfortable, I thought to myself, well, what do the animals need me to do? Not how I feel. What do they need me to do? Once that became my focus, then my own fears became far less important. Like Mel mentioned, going to a slaughterhouse was one of the first things we were kind of worried about doing, but knew we had to. But there was something else too, investigating farms. I remember watching Joey's outreach videos, and when people realized that he'd been there, they listened differently. He wasn't just regurgitating something he'd read, he'd experienced it. And we knew that we had to do the same. If we were asking people to face the truth, then we had to go and see it for ourselves too. One investigation has never ever left me. I'd like to just take you into that investigation for a little bit now. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning. We parked way away from the farm. We could already smell it. We checked our cameras, we got all our equipment together, and we started walking through the darkness towards the lights in the distance. The closer we got, the stronger the smell became. It felt like we were walking towards something truly evil, because of course we were. When we got there, we just stood in silence. As our lights cut through the darkness, all we could see at first were the whites of the pig's eyes staring back at us. There was no curiosity, there was no excitement, no hope that someone would come to help them. Just a look of complete helplessness, like they thought, this is all life's ever going to be anyway. We went further into that farm and we came across the farrowing sheds. There were no locks on the doors. I looked at Mel looked back at me, and we went in. Nothing could have prepared us for what we saw when we went in them sheds. Farrowing crates that looked more like torture devices than anything built for a living being. Mothers imprisoned inside them, unable to turn around. Cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. There was antibiotic bottles scattered everywhere, just all over the place. Piglets' tails were all over the floor in the dirt, with the side cutters who was used to cut them off on a shelf amongst the cobwebs. As we went closer, rats were feeding on the bodies of dead piglets whilst their mothers lay beside them helpless, unable to move, unable to even get to their babies. Can you imagine for a second comforting your child as they died in front of you to then lay there for weeks because you're unable to get to them? Because that's the reality that these mothers had to endure. At the back of the shed, looking straight at me through the bars of the crate, was one particular mother. She hadn't given birth yet, but looked as though she would very soon. There she is. She looked terrified. I'll never forget the way that she looked at me. She told me her whole story without even needing to say a word. I understood. We filmed what we needed to film. We gave the animals the only things we could in their moments, which was a little compassion and some words of kindness, and then we left. The reason why I'm telling you this is because as we got back in the car, it felt like that moment when we decided to go vegan after watching Joey's videos. We didn't need to discuss it, we just knew. I remember as I sat in the car, I sat next to Mel, and I looked at Mel and I said, them animals, they needed saving tonight. The urgency really hit us. It was time to do more. From that moment on, there hasn't been a day that we haven't talked about strategy, ideas, or ways that we can help animals more effectively. Most mornings it's the first conversation we have, and most nights it's the last. And it doesn't stop there. Quite often I'm fast asleep, and Mel will tap me on the shoulder and say, I've had an idea. Lights on, kettle on, and we start planning. For us, action's always a choice, but for the animals it isn't. They have no choice, and for most of them, I wonder if they even have any hope. And we've spent the last few years of our activism trying to change that for them. Among the work that we do for the animals, we've also rescued hens from the egg industry who were destined for a slaughterhouse, most likely a gas chamber. They came from farms carrying all the labels that were told to reassure us, right? Free range, high welfare, all the usual marketing. When they arrived home, they were exhausted. Feathers were missing, their combs were pale and shriveled, their eyes were dull, and they barely moved. Even though they were finally free, they didn't know what freedom was. They sat inside their carrying crates for hours, just looking at the world as if it was something to really fear. And then you realize grass, sunshine, wind. It's the first time that any of them had ever experienced any of it. Eventually, the braver hens did start to make their way out, and watching them experience freedom for the first time was incredible. Them hens have taught us so much. They are so intelligent, they're curious, mischievous, affectionate, and even empathetic. But they also taught us something heartbreaking, which we would never expected. We could rescue them from the industry, but we couldn't rescue them from what the industry had done to their bodies. They've been genetically manipulated to produce far more eggs than their bodies were ever meant to. Even though we took them away from the farm, they never escaped the exploitation put upon them. Then we thought, rescue matters. Of course it does. It changes the individuals' lives. But if we really want to save animals, we have to stop them needing rescuing in the first place. The only way to truly rescue animals is to end the systems that exploit them. And one little hen taught us this lesson more than any other. Her name was Hope. I want to share a story.
I want to tell you all about my amazing friend Hope, who was rescued from a gas chamber. When she first arrived, she hardly had any feathers and she couldn't walk.
It's the first time these hens have ever been on grass or seen the light of day.
We named her Hope in hopes that she would make it through the night. Hope has absolutely loved being here. She loves a dust bath. One day we saw that
A load of water come out of her mouth.
we were concerned. She started to get really lethargic and we were really worried. So we took her to the emergency vets.
We're in here.
Yeah. We've just been to the vets, haven't we, Hope?
Yeah, feeling better now.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking me to the vets, everyone. I had an impacted crop and then they got all the stuff out and then I had oxygen and now I feel better.
Now we'll go home for some
I'm going to go home
cuddles.
for a cuddle and a sleep.
Hope started to do really well. She looks really great. And then one day we noticed that Hope had a little limp. The others just kept picking on her, so we were really worried for her. We bought Hope her own separate place that she can live right next to her friends.
So this is Hopi Doodles. She now lives in a palace on her own next to her friends because the other chickens started to bully her.
I'd often sit outside with the dogs with her. As time went on, we came out one day to see that Hope couldn't walk. We brought her back inside of us so we could monitor if she was eating or drinking and see if her legs would gain strength.
The thing is, people don't care for chickens and other animals in the same way that we care. They just see them as just a chicken. But they don't realise this is our little Hope, who loves blueberries, who loves cuddles, who purrs when she cuddles. I guess take each hour, day as it comes. Just love her so much. So yeah, just let her have a little nap and then try and give her some water. I've not seen her drink today. But, you okay? It's okay. It's okay.
The next day, Hope wasn't looking happy, so we decided to call the vet.
So we just called the vets because Hope's still not doing well. It's the first time I've held her for so long. I just wanted to cuddle her. And she started purring. She hasn't purred in so long. I feel so sad.
The vet was really lovely and examined her all over. She explained to us that there's nothing she can really do for this. The best thing for Hope would be to end her suffering. So we made the really hard decision to let her go. I cuddled her as they did this. I told her I loved her. I said my goodbyes. I'm telling you Hope's story. She's extremely brave, empathetic, and she has a beautiful soul. But she's a survivor from the egg industry. She was destined to be sent to a gas chamber purely because her egg production slowed down at 18 months. So we rescued her, and she's had 5 happy years with us. But there's so many other individuals, just like Hope, trapped in the system, trapped in the farming industry, who need your help. Please don't let another being go through this system of evil. Live vegan.
On On the day we had to say goodbye to hope, we were at Slaughterhouse that morning. Now, walking away from Slaughterhouse whilst hearing desperate cries behind the walls breaks everything inside of me. You look into the eyes of someone who is gentle, someone who wants to live just as much as you and I. You know what's about to happen to them. And you know that if you cross that gate to save them, you would be the one arrested. Because right now, we are chained by the wrong legal system that hasn't caught up yet. But then the cries stop, and the silence follows you home. You leave carrying a grief that never fully leaves you. But grief can either consume you or it can drive you. Because exploitation depends on one thing. It depends on people never looking. It depends on animals remaining invisible. So we tell their stories. We film, we speak. We shine a light on the individuals the industry has spent decades hiding from you and turning into commodities. Sometimes people respond with compassion, but often the comment sections are filled with meat emojis, insults, and death threats. Even when the animals are crying and begging for mercy, people still laugh and mock them. And I can't understand this mentality in the slightest. It's the opposite of anything I feel. Then you leave the slaughterhouse and the world carries on. In fact, their bodies are marketed with comforted words like humane, organic, and free range. But we've stood at the gates of hell every week for over a year, and we've witnessed how the farmers are with the animals. We've seen them hit them, shout at them, laugh at them, and they give us abuse as they leave. They leave. But we stand there listening to the cries as we saw them commit the ultimate act of betrayal to the animals who trusted them, who they left inside a building, alone, scared, around people they don't know, with weapons. The farmer leaves, never going inside. A living individual becomes a product, a life becomes a commodity, and that's why we have to keep showing the truth. But it doesn't come without low days. I live with a constant panic that I can't end this fast enough for the animals, and that holds a heavy weight over me. One morning I remember sitting there thinking, we need to create a tidal wave of change. And then an idea came into my head. What if we went live at slaughterhouses, somewhere the public would never go? What if thousands of people could witness this in real time? So we tried it. Hundreds watched, then thousands. Then I created Project LiveStream to encourage activists across the world to start doing the same. And in just 1 year, together we've reached 200 million people. That's 200 million opportunities for someone to see the animals and connect. But if I'm honest, that's with only a handful of people doing it. The lack of people fighting for the animals is actually truly devastating. Everyone speaks, but only a tiny amount act. Now, I don't know when this ends for the animals, but I do know with more people fighting, it ends faster. I can't force people to fight for the animals. It's you who has to be self-propelled. When you care enough You fight with everything you have, even if you don't know when it ends. And we've seen change by action. We've heard from slaughterhouse workers who have left their jobs. We've heard from people who chose to go vegan because of what they've witnessed. Animal farmers who have changed to sanctuaries and now rescue animals. But even though this reach is great, it's important to never settle, never feel content. We must keep doing all we can to achieve more, constantly evolving and taking risks. Now, a few days after saying goodbye to hope, after spending the morning at a slaughterhouse again, I was driving home feeling completely empty. I'm always someone who says there's always hope, even when there isn't. But this day I remember asking myself, how do I keep hold of hope when all I see is darkness? I looked up. The sky was almost completely clear, except for one cloud. It was shaped exactly like a chicken. Their wings stretched out as though they were flying free. I looked at Steve and I said, that's hope. I knew that was my reminder to never lose it. Because hope is not believing that everything will be okay. Hope is refusing to stop fighting until it is. Thank you.
How many of you here today have stood outside of a slaughterhouse, looked into the eyes of an animal on their final journey of their life, spoken softly to them, tried to comfort them, and quietly whispered, "I'm so sorry, I'm too late"? For the past year and a half, this has been the heart of our activism. We've stood outside slaughterhouses most days of the week, shining a light into the darkness, because what happens behind those doors was never meant to be seen. We've been there to bear witness, to expose the realities of what animals face, and to reach people with the truth in the hope that they would choose compassion, reject animal exploitation, and go vegan. In that time, we have watched hundreds of thousands of individuals make their final journey past us. I can tell you this, the battle is huge. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend. The industries that exploit animals, they're powerful, organized, and they are relentless. If we're going to end this injustice, it won't be because somebody else stood up. It'll be because ordinary, everyday people found the courage to stand up, speak out, and refuse to stay silent any longer. If you're someone who's already looked into the eyes of an animal as they go into a slaughterhouse, you'll know exactly what we mean when we say it changes something inside of you. A fire is lit that burns so fiercely nothing will ever extinguish it. And you make them animals a promise. You promise that you will always remember them and never forget them. You'll never look away and you'll never become silent. You'll never stop fighting with everything you have to bring an end to the injustice that they faced, because for them, we were too late. And that's something that none of us should ever be willing to accept. Every time you feel exhausted, even if you feel intimidated, every time you wonder whether your voice can truly make a difference, you remember those eyes, you remember that promise, and suddenly giving up is no longer an option. Not because they asked you to, but because once you've looked into their eyes, you know that you owe them nothing less. Before we continue and finish up, we'd just like to take a moment to remember some of the individuals that we've personally met and that we've personally filmed outside slaughterhouses. Individuals that we've looked into the eyes of, individuals that we've spoken to, individuals that we've said goodbye to, whose names we never know, but whose lives mattered just the same. As we remember them today, we ask just one thing of you: don't look away. Be brave. Have courage and look into their eyes. See them for who they are. As you watch them, I'd like you to make them your own promise. Promise them that their lives will change yours. That because they were seen, you will choose to act. Because what happens next depends on you.
Don't know why what it was I did to end up in a place like this. I've heard that there is love somewhere up above, outside the hell this is. No one cares that I am me. I'm just a number on a sheet, just something to use until I'm no use, a commodity. I'm dying, struggling for it, here crying, and no one even cares. If you can hear me, please come and free me. I don't wanna die inside this ain't a life. If you were I, you'd learn what hell is like. Someone tell me that you know. I cannot comprehend that though. Surely if you did, you would lift the lid on this horror show. Time goes slowly, but all you feel is pain. Believe me, it shouldn't be this way. If you can hear me, please come and free me. I don't wanna die inside this ain't a life. If you were I, you'd learn what hell is like.
The animals need you, but they cannot ask you. So we're asking on behalf of them. You are their one and only chance of ending this. They cannot wait for you to be brave before you act. They don't have time for you to wait. Please help turn this darkness of evil into the light of liberation and freedom. Live vegan and then fight with everything you have. Thank you.